A few moments later.
Maybe he was sick that day. Maybe he had a lot on his mind. Maybe he had challenges with family, siblings, kids, other things that's going on. Sometimes people have a bad day.
Yeah.
Would you be open to the idea of another one, the two of you guys together, long form, and maybe he brings somebody with him?
Yeah, I would be open to it. I mean, that was the original plan, was that this interaction that we had online would be kind of a precursor to, ideally, an in-person thing with Billy. And I actually said, when Billy sent me the cease and desist letter, I made a video where I said, I will actually adhere to all of the terms and conditions of this letter if you decide to run it back with me and we do it in person. Because I think Billy has a lot of claims about the Bible, and I hope that our conversation kind of made him think twice about a lot of the claims he's made about the Bible, especially the ones that are patently false and can be verified even with just a quick Google search. But I think there are still things that Billy has said about the history of Christianity, about biblical languages, that do need to be corrected, not because I have some sort of vendetta against Billy, but because I want people to know what is true. And as someone who has studied this stuff formally and does, read Hebrew and Greek, and I want people to actually know what the reality of what these things concerning the historical reliability and the truthfulness and the verisimilitude of the Bible actually are.
Wes, let me ask you. I'm on your channel right now, and I'm just kind of wondering who else you react to, right? Who else would be somebody where you would say is like a Billy Carson that, shares certain stories that, has caught some traction? Who else would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I'm actually scheduled to do an online event with a guy named Aaron Abke, who is a growing individual within. I think Aaron has more kind of, his repertoire is a little bit more than Billy's. But my friend Stephen Boyce, who has a PhD and is brilliant on church history, and I think his PhD research was actually on Gnostic Gospels. Him and I are going to do an interaction with Aaron and another individual as well. But I mean, off the top of my head, no one necessarily comes to mind, but there are, I mean, the internet is kind of a wild, wild west with this stuff and just claims that are made. I mean, I think it's emblematic in this conversation. We live in this world, but we live in a world where social media has kind of designed it where we're so used to claims being thrown out, but claims are not actual evidence. And so you can make a claim where you say something and, because it's, in 140 characters, and we're so used to that, we think that that's actually rationale, but that's not rationale. That's an assertion. An assertion is kind of like the roof of the building. You don't start building the building by the roof. That's the last thing to go on top. The foundation, the walls, everything internal, that's the rationale and the evidence, and then you put the assertion on top. But we live in this world where everybody's throwing out assertions, and we've actually forgotten how to articulate what evidence and reasons and rationale actually are. So that's what we see online.
I mean, a question about, I remember back in the days when a friend of mine who we went to high school with, I go to the Army, I come out. This is a guy that was a PCP guy, troublemaker. All of a sudden, he's no longer cursing. He's not drinking. He's not going to the clubs. I said, what's going on with you? And him and I both had a 1.8 GPA in high school. Both of us troubled teenagers. We were just, we had a hard time. And I went to the military. He went a different route. And he says, Pat, I found Jesus. I said, you found who? He says, I found Jesus. I said, there's no way you found Jesus. He said, I found Jesus. I'm laughing at him, thinking what do you mean you found Jesus? He said, well, what are you doing next Friday? I says, I'm at the club. What are you doing next week? You want to go to the club? Let's go. He said, no, I want to take you to a different club. What's that? Church of the Paznaz of Pasadena, California. I'm like, oh, give me a break, dude. I'm not in. I'm busy. And he keeps trying. Finally, I go on a Friday night. And it's a Bible study with 5 of us from 6 to 2 o'clock in the morning, okay, Friday night. And we start kind of going through this process. And the teacher was a guy that knew a lot about philosophy, so he can go philosophy. He can talk maybe on the philosophy side, on the business side, and he can talk on the spiritual side. So different religions, denominations, what questions you got? What are you struggling? What are you battling with? And it was very interesting to see you got the FAQs that you go through, typical objections that have come up about, why if God is real, how can he have something like this happen? How can let so many innocent, the most innocent objections, like in every business, there's innocent objections that comes up. And then eventually it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And only somebody that went to school and maybe has studied this like for many, many years, then realizes, okay, now you're asking some real heavy questions that we got to sit there and process with. How many people you think of somebody that went to school and got their, degree from certain universities that we have in America could have sat down with Billy and not exposed, but revealed the number of leaks in his arguments? How many people would be able to do something like that? Somebody that studied theology.
Oh, I think quite a few.
And what's that number like? Is it in the tens of thousands? I mean, was it things that was not level of depth that anybody could have overcame? That's
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that the accusations that Billy was making, they're not unusual in the sense of, and I'm not really sure where Billy got a lot of the arguments that he actually articulates from, because like